Well, hi everyone. It's Julie Gordon White, CEO of of MenoWell. I was going to say of the MenoLounge, but that too. Happy Friday. I'm so glad to be here with you. It's a special day. I know we normally do this on Tuesday. I'm going to say hi to our guest and bring him right up. So excited. You're going to find out in 1 second and be surprised. Here he comes. Oh, I cheated. Did I say he? Here he comes. Chip, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I got you.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi. How are
Happy
you doing?
Friday. I'm so glad you're here.
Where are you calling from? Where are you staying right now?
I am in Berkeley, California. How about you? Are you in Baja,
Uh,
someplace fun?
no, I'm in Santa Fe because we're going to be opening our new campus here in Santa Fe this spring, our MEA campus. So I do love Baja too, though. We have a campus there, which I love. We'll get you down there one of these days.
That's it for certain right there. Well, we have so many crossovers, but before I kind of share how we weave together, hint, I was in the hotel business back when you were all joie de vivre all the time.
What
So
were you doing?
um,
What were you doing back then?
I was director of marketing for Sheraton Hotels. So I was there and hanging out with the Kimpton crew also. So
Hmm.
lots of fun things. Well, we're going to talk about all that. But first, I just want to welcome you to the MenoLounge. You are the first man on the MenoLounge. So no pressure, but I know you can handle it. I heard you were at the Swell event and you just crinkled up your talk after you heard all those menopausal women talking about how sex on is
Oh,
challenging in midlife.
oh
And you're like,
my
I got to start
God.
from scratch, right?
I was like, okay, no rules barred. I'm gonna just say whatever I want to say now. I don't have to have a script. Yeah, that was fun. I appreciate the Swell as an organization that has a lot in common with what we do at MEA, and as does
Yeah.
MenoWell. Thank you for letting me
So
join you.
exciting. We have to give a shout out to Kendra Canning, who connected us, who
Yeah.
is an incredible woman with Live Right Now, who said, hey, you two midlife leaders need to connect. So Chip, let me just share, for people who don't know you, which I'm not sure who doesn't know you, but, you're incredible in the background, hotelier from your own joie de vivre hotels to Airbnb, and then New York Times bestselling author. You've written 7 books. Yeah. And by the way, Peak, I'm pretty sure I read that book 4 times. So
Thank you. Thank
Maslow,
you.
yes, thank you for the translation. And then, of course, your Modern Elders Academy. So
Yeah.
exciting with workshops and courses and more and more and more. You're doing so many cool things. And I love, that's why we're so aligned, as we're in midlife. I think you're 62, I'm 58. And
63.
oh,
Yeah.
63. Woo, woo,
Yeah.
great. You went to the next. But how we believe both of our organizations in the empowerment, the inspiration, the best is yet to come in midlife when most people have a completely different story about it, or for sure the media. So we're going to talk about your new book. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Learning to
Yes.
Love Midlife, 12 Reasons Why Life Gets Better with Age. I have 4 that are my favorites. So I'm gonna pick your
Okay.
brain on that.
Yeah, I want to hear your
Yeah,
favorites. I also
yeah,
want to
yeah.
hear your least favorites too. So
Oh, I don't have any least favorites. That's just
okay.
not how
All
I
right.
roll. So
Okay.
there's nothing bad at all, but there's some that rise to the top. Your volume is a little low, and I want to
Is
make
it?
sure we don't
Okay.
miss anybody.
Off and see if
Oh,
I go this way. Can you hear me better now?
much better, much
Okay,
better.
there we go. There we go.
Because I want everyone, I know they're going to be listening, but we don't want their ear completely to the phone the whole time. So,
Yeah, no, 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 no.
um,
So
look,
perfect.
Candra's here. I see she's saying Chip is making it sexy to be in midlife. There you go.
Thank you, Kendra. So are you. So are you.
I love it. Okay, so we're going to talk about all the things midlife, but first I have to ask you, when we reached out and said, "Hey, you want to be on the MenoLounge?" You said yes, like in 2 seconds. What was your thinking behind wanting to show up on a menopause show?
I really think men and women have a lot to learn from each other. And, 63% of the people who come to MEA, 4,200 people have now come to MEA from 47 countries, but 63% are women. So, as the CEO, founder, and, one of the primary teachers, I love hearing women's stories. I also think a lot of women are think of men like a Ouija board. It's sort of like what the heck? How do I understand a man's psyche and their emotions and, you know, all the psychology of a man? So I appreciate that I can be out there, you know, representing, you know, the other gender. And I, you know, long story short is I think you actually reached out to me right as it was the week I was launching the book. And I was on Good Morning America that week, as well as the Today Show. And I have a point of view, which is I just want to say yes to things. And and anything that's anybody that Kendra introduces me to is, you know, going to be a new friend. So yes.
Right. Everybody should know Kendra. She is a powerhouse midlifer. So yes, I agree with that. You know, she and I actually met when I turned 50 and I was in my year of yes. And, you know, Kendra's a woman who says yes to everything. She takes you on adventures that you might, you know, be sad that you used to decide, hey, Wendy, that, you know, you actually said yes to, like, oh my God, you know, but she just has that spirit. And that's something that's, you know, we're talking about here in midlife, is taking on new challenges and being open to exciting things. So one of the things you do talk about is reframing aging, which I love, and how in our 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, it changes. It used to feel like a crisis, but then it evolves. Do you want to talk about that? And also how that kind of connects with the U curve of happiness?
Yeah. You know, I will probably bring this up later when you ask me some final facts, but Becca Levy at Yale has shown that when people shift their mindset on aging from a negative to a positive, they gain 7.5 years of additional life, which is more
Wait a
life than
minute.
if you
Let's
actually,
put a pin in that.
yeah,
So 7 years just by reframing our beliefs.
7.5 years just by shifting your mindset on aging being a good thing. So part of the reason I decided I wanted to write the book was to help give a pro-aging message, because the anti-aging message, which is generally an anti-women message, let's be clear, anti-aging products are usually made to feel, you know, make women feel badly about their bodies and their natural aging process. I like your hair, by the way. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks. I see you have silver hair
A
too,
little bit,
right? It's
yeah,
like a
not a
little.
lot. Yeah. So natural aging is a natural thing. It's not something for us to feel shameful about. So Becca Levy, you know, has shown that, you know, midlife is the opportunity for us to actually start owning our age and starting to feel better about aging. The U curve of happiness, which you cited, is a social science research study that's been done for 10 years now globally. And it shows that our life satisfaction declines from about age 22 till mid 40s to late 50, or to late 40s. Between 45 and 50, we sort of, you know, bottom out, although your mileage may vary. And then after 50, we get happier with every decade. So 50s happier than 40s, 60s happier than 50s, 70s happier than 60s, and women in their 80s happier than 70s. So what an
I hope we're
interesting.
happier though before we get to 80s, right? I mean,
Yeah,
50s we
no, we
start
get
on
better.
ramping towards.
It keeps getting better, and yet the societal narrative on aging is, you know, aging's terrible, and as you get older, you get more unhappy and more cranky, and actually people's personal experiences don't show that. So that's another reason I really wanted to get the message out. Is like, wow, maybe midlife is not a crisis. Maybe it's a chrysalis. And what do I mean by that? The caterpillar to butterfly journey had in the middle, the midlife for the butterfly is the chrysalis. It's a cocoon. It's dark and gooey and solitary, but it's actually where the transformation happens. And I think the fact that after age 50 we get happier, maybe it is that once we come out of that cocoon around 45 to 50, we actually get into the part of our life that feels the most blossoming, the most colorful, the most free. And so that's what I wanted to get the point that I wanted to make that point in the book.
I love it so much, especially for women in the stages of menopause, because our bodies are going through a physical transition. Oh, and I can't not talk about andropause. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with andropause.
Oh,
So
I'm very familiar with menopause. I've gone through it, and I'm maybe still going through it.
okay, good.
Yeah. So for
Wait,
women,
don't say anything. I want to
okay,
talk about it. I wanted to really talk about it.
go.
Okay, but you know, so our bodies are going through this whole shift as our estrogen declines, everything is changing. And then, those of us who have given birth or adopted or had children that we're sending out into the world, or loved ones that we've raised, we in our 50s, late 40s, 50s, we start to come, we get called back to ourselves because of this physical transition. And now we have time. So that U curve makes sense because, in my 40s, raising 3 kids, there was no time other than, with my husband, who's going where, who's picking up, who did their homework, does somebody have food, dinner, like all that logistics. Forget, like, oh, how does mom feel? Like, no one cares, right? So out of love, but they didn't care till my 50s. Get those people out of here, and so it makes sense.
There's a anthropologist named Margaret Mead, and Margaret Mead said that there's something called a postmenopausal zest. Postmenopausal zest. And she was speaking to the idea that for some women, going through menopause gives them the relief that they're not going to be childbearing anymore, gives them the relief that they're ready for what's next. And especially if the children have left the home, it gives you some freedom and some time affluence, something that I talk about in the book.
Beautiful. That's exactly it. And those of us who have done it have loved investing all that, and it never stops. But you get time back for yourself. You get space back for yourself. Economically, people get off the payroll. So there's a lot of good things happening. And sometimes we forget because our bodies may not feel good because there's over 34 symptoms of menopause, and there's actually probably double that now, we think, but it's the 34 core that we know.
Can I talk about that? So some people know this, but I'll just make, for those that don't, I have stage 3 prostate cancer. So I had my prostate taken last year. And I had 36 sessions of radiation. But the other thing that's relevant to menopause is that a year ago I started taking what's called androgen deprivation therapy, ADT. It's basically starving my body of testosterone because testosterone is what actually fuels prostate cancer. So the number one side effect of actually taking ADT as a man is to go through all the menopausal symptoms. So I am having night sweats. I'm like, right now it's cold outside and I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt because I'm having hot flashes.
Wow.
I'm having brain fog. I have, less energy. So the list is long. So I know about some of the symptoms or the side effects just because I'm going through them.
Well, thank you for sharing. That's super vulnerable, and I just really appreciate that because it kind of brings you a little closer in the club, I would say, because that's the andropause extreme, right? That you are actually experiencing, because andropause, decline of testosterone, so you don't feel good, all those things. But then you're at the extreme of that, and many women go into menopause surgically, or after having breast cancer or hysterectomy. So it's a very similar experience where they may be in their 30s and may have a situation that's medically induced menopause.
And it's hard because it happens overnight. So you have, normally you have perimenopause and you start getting prepared for this. And when you're taking pills, whether it's a woman who's, had a hysterectomy, or it's me who's had prostate taken out and is on this testosterone blocker, it happens like that. All of a sudden, like, whoa, after 3 days of taking these pills, like, oh, it's hot in here.
What the hell? Did they prepare you for that, Chip? Did they say, oh, by the way, this is going to happen? Because a lot of women don't, it's the same thing, and they're not well prepared. So
no,
did they tell you?
They did not prepare me.
Rude.
They did not. Once it started happening, I started saying, hey, this doesn't feel good. I was also feeling this like weird thing up my neck, like this heat, like this heat bolt up my neck, and so I finally said that, oh yeah, well that's one of the side effects. Like, thank you.
Side effects.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Well, you are officially MOT, member of the tribe now, so I hope you find that as a badge of honor.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing those on a serious note. And of course, we will collectively send all the good vibes, good love your way for continued healing and support. So your Meno sisters gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, Chip, let's go into the book. 12 reasons. Why 12? And then I'm gonna pull out my 4 favorite here out of the book.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to use both my experience with over 4,000 alumni and what I've seen from people going through midlife. I wanted to use my own personal experience. And then I wanted to use social science research. And so I put it into 5 different categories: the physical, the emotional, the mental, the vocational or professional, and then the spiritual. And as I started to look at it, there were 12 that sort of came to the forefront.
Yeah.
And then the social science really helped me to feel like, yeah, these are real. These are not just my personal experience.
Right.
And so let's see what your 4 favorites are.
Okay. I kind of want to ask you if you have a favorite, but
Let's
you
go
want to
with
go first? You want
yours first. Let's go with yours.
Okay. And then you tell me. You have to be honest,
Okay.
and you can't say I don't have a favorite. Like I said, I don't have one that's not. Okay. Here's my 4. Number 1, I'm relieved my body no longer defines me. I'll say all of them, and then we'll come back. Number 2, I have no more F's to give, and we can say the F word, I think, on Instagram. Okay, I'm gonna say it. I have no more fucks to give. Right? We're gonna come. That might be number 1. I'm not sure. It's tied. Number 3, I've learned how to edit my life. It's huge. And number 4, I feel as if I'm growing whole.
I love those. So I love all 4 of those.
Okay. Don't you love all of them?
I do. So
What's your fave?
My fave is I understand how I understand my story or my narrative much better. And
I
that's
didn't pick that one. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one where you understand, in your life, as you get older, you have pattern recognition of when you're younger. You see how you lived your life and you get clearer that, okay, well, I've learned some lessons along the way that will help me be wiser in the future.
Right.
But tell us more about why I Have No More Fucks Left to Give was your favorite.
Well, it tied about the body one, though, right? Because that's
So
what brought me to the
about
menopause conversation. Was I wasn't happy with my body, which is why I started MenoWell, because I needed to have a healthier, a better choice when my sugar cravings were going to were actually making me eat every brownie, cookies, and chips, right? So that's why that rose to the top for me. But but we can start there. Having no more fucks to give, because finally in my 50s, and that's where I landed midlife. And yeah, it happened before. And my perimenopause started at about 46. I thought I was losing my mind from brain fog. But I would say 50 is where I felt really in it. And it's because not caring about what other people think, being a woman. I had, after the hotel industry, I had a boutique M&A firm. So I was the only one of me in every single room, whether it was a woman of color, I was always the only one. So I had a certain persona that I developed, that I probably learned from I learned from my parents, for coping, for surviving, for excelling, all those things. And I got to my 50s and I'm like, this is me. And if you don't like it, I'm cool with that. Love you over there. I'm fine. And so that's why that rose to the top. How about you? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think one of the things about I Have No More Fucks Left to Give speaks to some people would hear that and think, oh man, you don't care about things. No, you get clear about what matters to you. And one of the things that matters less is what other people think about you. And
huge, especially for women.
Yeah, thank
huge.
God you can get to a place where you can say that, because frankly, earlier in life, you sweat about like, oh my God, no, that person doesn't like me. They didn't look at me the right way. And of course, they were on their own path doing something else that had nothing to do with you, but you spend 3 days thinking about it. And so it's to be able to get to a place where you are less concerned about how you're showing up in the world and more concerned about what matters to you in the world. So it's an important one. And I do think that it's a natural for people in midlife and beyond, because quite frankly, when we get to midlife, we are carrying a lot of baggage, and midlife's a marathon. And so you got to let go of some of that baggage.
Right. I love it. Especially, and I keep saying especially women, but we do carry, and maybe please push back on this, we carry a way of being that we are given to by the media, that we're no longer valid. We're just old, right? We're not cute anymore. We're certainly not sexy,
Yep.
and we
Yep.
don't get the jobs. We get passed up, and that's hard. So if we can hold on to not really focusing on what matters to us versus really caring what other people think,
Yeah.
and it gets harder and harder in the day of social media and all in comparison. But I think it's so freeing. It's so freeing.
Beautiful. Well, talk about for a moment about I'm relieved my body no longer defines me. Is that one? I mean, you talked about it a moment ago, but
Yeah.
do you feel at this point? I mean, let me talk about
Okay.
it actually.
Yeah, I want you. Okay, let me just tell you, after my M&A hotel M&A firm, I coach women for entrepreneurs for 10 years on all that stuff. I feel like you just started coaching me right there. Like I felt that coaching hat switch on shift. I'm gonna send it back to you.
Well, I think that our body is like a rental vehicle that we were issued at birth. So each of us got our rental vehicle, and then the longer you are on the road living your life, the more debt you have in your rental vehicle, and the paint isn't quite as good as it used to be. But there's a point in your life where you start to realize that it matters less what it looks like on the outside and more like how it feels like on the inside.
Yeah.
And to get to that stage of life where you care less about what it looks like on the outside and you care more about how you feel on the inside, that is to me the crossroads of when midlife is kicking into its positive gears for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we shouldn't take care of ourselves. Long-term maintenance of our rental vehicle is essential because we want to live.
That's how we get to longevity, right? So
That's right. So long-term maintenance is important, but short-term vanity becomes less important as you get older. Now, I'm not saying that somebody shouldn't be going out and running a marathon at 85 or doing yoga on YouTube at 75. Beautiful. But as you get older, a six-pack becomes more expensive. Let me explain about that. Six-pack abs at 60 are harder and take a lot more time and energy than a six-pack ab at 30.
Yeah.
So if you want to have six-pack abs, great, go do it. But just there's an opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Meaning there's a bunch of other things you won't be able to invest your time in. And that's
Or
fine.
eat.
Or eat.
Or eat.
For sure. Yeah. That's
Which
why
is okay, but
that's why
it's important to focus on what matters, because that may, especially a woman, because it's very unsettling to all of a sudden have middle, as we say. We don't focus on getting skinny unless you want to feel good, but you want to feel good in your clothes. You want to feel confident, and that's why not being worried about our body doesn't matter. I mean, it's good not to worry about our body, but it's important to be healthy. Also, heart disease, huge, huge, huge. So we need to make that little side disclaimer. Heart disease, the #1 killer of men and women. So waist size matters, but we don't need to be obsessed about it anymore, right?
That's
there
right.
we go. Okay. I've learned to edit my life.
Well, I think that the beautiful one about that is that once you get clear on what matters to you, about the you don't care about certain things anymore, then you're ready for that edit. We call it the Great Midlife Edit at the Modern Elder Academy, MEA. So at MEA, helping people learn how to edit their mindset, their identities, their roles, who's in their life. These are really important things to do because, quite frankly, that we spend the first half of our life accumulating,
right?
And we spend the second half of our life discerning so that we can edit the things that aren't serving us anymore. And so, long story short, is I like that one a lot because it's really very affiliated with why I started MEA. The Modern Elder Academy, and with the 2 campuses we have and our online programs as well. So why did you like that one?
Katie says, I'm here for an edit. Yeah, because learning how to say no. Women really struggle saying no, and especially when we're trying to do all the things, be the best mom, the best partner, the best entrepreneur, the best boss. We say yes to everything, but we forget to say yes to the things that really matter to us, and we end up saying yes to things that just drain us. So edit for me really rises to feeling comfortable of having boundaries and saying no, or saying not now, or maybe later, or just no, like, hey, you want to do this thing? Actually, I don't. I love
No,
that you do, but not me.
no
So
is a complete sentence.
it's a complete sentence, but man, it takes like 50 something years to make it complete. It's like a long sentence, then it gets shorter, shorter, shorter. No. So I love that. And I think from my own experience, wanting to make people happy, as a mom, and I love people, I love doing the things, and I love adventure expansion, but it can just drain the life out of you if you don't have boundaries. So that's why.
And your
Okay.
last one of your favorites was about growing whole.
I feel right in the book, if you don't have it, get it on Amazon or your favorite place. I feel as if I'm growing whole. That was just like, that spoke to my soul. Boom.
Well,
Tell us about that.
let's explain it, because it is beautiful. It's the 12th of the 12, and I put it last because I think it's the one that really speaks to, this is the goal over the course of a whole lifetime. So long story short is, we do grow old. That is natural. But we also grow whole. And what that means is you get better at being able to alchemize the polarities in your life, the extrovert and the introvert, the masculine and the feminine, the curious and the wise, the gravitas and the levity, and the yin, the yang. And once you start to realize as you get older that you can integrate all of these different disparate parts of yourselves, you feel less compartmentalized. You find that, oh my God, the beauty of someone who's both curious and wise. Well, that's what they called me at Airbnb. They called me the modern elder because they said a modern elder is someone who's as curious as they are wise. So the beautiful thing about this is, to grow whole means that you also feel not just whole inside yourself, you feel part of a bigger whole. You feel connected, and you're beyond the ghetto of your ego, and more focused on, why you exist on this planet and the mysteries of what we have here on this planet. So I love the idea of growing whole, and I think it is, when you meet a 75-year-old who is exceptionally present, and they are all the ages they've ever been. They are a 13-year-old, and they're a 65-year-old, and they're an 85-year-old, even though they're not 70, they're not even 85 yet. That's when we have age fluidity. Someone who's age fluid is someone who is not defined by their age or their generation. They are all of the ages they've ever been. And I think we all aspire to be age fluid instead of ageless. Yeah. Because ageless suggests that age is a bad thing. And so if you're ageless, you don't have age. So but age fluid means you can be older or younger than yourself based upon how you want to show up. Age is like a costume you can wear.
I love that. Age fluid. I haven't heard that before. That's a new one. And I love it because you can be an age that you haven't experienced yet.
That's right.
We can go forward and look back and inform our experience today. That is amazing. And we don't need somebody else to complete us. That's the other thing, right?
Well, that's true. That good point about the whole. Yeah. When you're whole yourself, this is not about, two puzzle pieces coming back together. It's about being whole.
Be whole. Love it. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I know you have some tips, some ways that we can apply learning how to love midlife. Yeah. Do you want to share those?
Yes. Well, the first one I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to say, learning how to feel good about aging is so important. Pro-aging products, things that make you feel better about getting older. Because again, Becca Levy has shown that when you actually shift from a negative to a positive perspective on aging, you gain 7.5 years of life. So how might you do that? Well, number one is ask yourself, what are you better at today than you were 10 years ago? Oh my God, that list could be long. Yeah. We don't usually think that way.
Right.
All right, so that's one.
Love it.
Number two is learn to become a beginner again. Mm-hmm. So what do I mean by that? A question I love to ask is the following. What do I know now or have I done now that I wish I'd learned or done 10 years ago? Okay. Now let's take that 10 years forward. 10 years from now, what will I regret if I don't learn it or do it now?
Yes.
Because anticipated regret is a form of wisdom. And so imagine how I learned to surf at age 57, and I started learning Spanish at age 57, even though there was something in my mind that said, oh, I'm too old to do this.
I don't need to know
So,
now. I'm past the time.
yeah.
Anticipated wisdom. Is that what you said?
Anticipated regret is a form of wisdom.
Anticipated regret is a form of wisdom. Beautiful.
All right.
Write that down, everyone.
Number
Yeah.
3 is taking into account Arthur Brooks' book, From Strength to Strength.
Yeah.
He's a faculty member of ours and a big fan of MEA. He wrote about MEA in his book. And this gets to the idea that as we get older, yes, our short-term memory is not as good, but our crystallized intelligence gets better. What is that? Crystallized intelligence is when we are able to connect the dots and think holistically and systemically. And it very much has to do with our intuition. So trusting our intuition, getting used to the idea that actually we have a lot of history in our minds, and we actually, and in our guts, and we should. That's my third one. Number 4th is Dacher Keltner. Dacher's on our faculty at MEA. He's a professor at UC Berkeley. You probably know who he is.
Yeah, he's a good friend of Candra's also. Yeah.
Oh gosh, well, he started the Greater Good Science Center there. He has said that he has a great book called Awe, and he's the world's leading expert on awe. And he says that the top 2 ways of feeling awe are to seek out moral beauty in the world. This is something we do at MEA.
Moral beauty.
Moral beauty.
Not more beauty, moral, M-O-R-A-L beauty.
Kindness, compassion, equanimity, resilience, courage. When we can see someone else's moral beauty, we actually feel like we can be that as well.
Yes.
So, and the number 2 way that people feel awe in the world is collective effervescence. To be with a group of people where your sense of ego separation dissolves and your sense of communal joy arises. So that's another thing. And then my final one is, here's my last one. We do not have very good longevity literacy. What do I mean by that? I mean, we underestimate how much life we still have ahead of us. The average age of the people who come to MEA is 54. The average age they think they're going to live till is 90. But if you told our people that at age 54, you are halfway through your adult life, because 54 is halfway between 18 and 90, they would say, oh, really? Wow, I have as many years ahead of me as I have behind me, having started counting at age 18. Yeah. What it does is it helps you to say, like, wow, if I have that many years ahead of me, how am I going to use those years and curate my life more consciously?
I love that. I had a whole conversation with my parents last night about committing. They live 1 hour away, to seeing each other in person once a month. You know, just not just FaceTime, but let's prioritize. And when you think about how much time we have with each other, which is always unknown, making sure that we prioritize what matters to us, that connects right with what you're saying. That's beautiful.
We got to see you down at MEA in Baja or in San Jose one of these days.
100%. I cannot wait. And plus, I know Michael Franti teaches workshops too, and we grew up together. So I don't know, our lives are like beep, beep, beep.
That's right. Well, Michael has been a close friend of mine for 35 years. He's teaching here in Santa Fe in July. Sorry, no, not July. In May. So if people love Michael Franti, come to MEA and do a week-long workshop with him and me.
I love it. I love it for sure. Okay, I have to ask you one more question. So I always ask this to the guests, so I have to think about it a different way. And so I'm going to say, Chip, what does the term or I can say well, okay, what does the term MenoWell mean to you?
It means learning how to be well during menopause. And it means learning how to create a pause so you can be well.
Wow. Drop the mic, nothing else said.
Okay.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay. How does everyone find you? How do they find me? Find MEA, all the good stuff. Tell us where.
MEA is meawisdom.com. You can see there that I have a blog every day, a daily blog. And check it out. If you get a subscription, it's free, and we send you an email every morning, a little microdose of wisdom. You can also find me at chipconley.com, and my LinkedIn profile is pretty active, so that's a good place to find me as well.
So all the places, at minimum, get the book. You're going to love it. Give it as a gift. You will inspire. If there's 12, because there's 12 reasons why life gets better with age, you should give this to at least 11 more people. Then that's 12 people that's spreading the message.
Thank you.
What an impact, right?
Yep.
Thank you so much. Happy Friday. Best
Friday.
Friday I've had in a long time. Be well, and I guess I will see you in Santa Fe or Baja.
Yep. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for being here. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.